Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Johannes Lindman. Hey Johannes, welcome back.
Hi there, great to be here again.
Absolutely. So we're anxious to hear after yesterday's episode where I think we had a pretty deep reflection on some of the mistakes we can make as Scrum Masters. I'm quite eager to hear what you have for us as the book that most influenced you in your career as a Scrum Master.
Kind of easy. It's number one still on my list because of emotional reasons, because it was one of the first books I read, and that was Extreme Programming Explained. Embrace Change by Kent Beck. It's had a huge impact on my career. I could easily say that. I didn't read it when I started working as a developer. I read it afterwards when I needed to install this in a new team, and I found so many things. I have two favorite quotes from the book. The first, I'm not sure if it's in the book, I just looked it up. Kent Beck says, make it work, make it right, make it fast. And that's like a mantra for me in all things I do ever, not only developing or coding. Another one is the section about our fears and how he feels. I feel like an idiot every day. We all are afraid of feeling, looking like a fool and being ashamed and so forth. That has helped me a lot. So that book is on top of my list every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great book. Also, it has many of the core ideas of what we would these days call agile software development. But at that time, when the first extreme programming literature was coming out in blog posts mostly first, and then in the book, it was really discovering, right? Because the people behind extreme programming, Kent Beck and others, they were trying things that were very unorthodox at the time. Like, for example, writing tests before writing the code. Like we all accept TDD as kind of a given practice in agile software development. But at that time, when in the early 2000s, late 90s, if you would say, let's write a test before we write the code, people would look at you and think you're crazy.
Yeah. But I didn't know anything else, so I thought it was natural, as I mentioned yesterday. But on the other hand, this is not the book I would recommend to people to read first. Just saying that. There are other books that are great now.
Absolutely. So, of course, all of these books that we read and all of the things we try to explore and learn about are there to help us with teams. As Scrum Masters, we mostly work with teams, of course. But sometimes teams kind of self-destruct despite our best efforts and, sometimes maybe even because of our best efforts. So, Johannes, tell us a story of a team. Give us a little bit about the context, maybe how big it was, what kind of project they were working on, and then walk us through the steps that small little set of behaviors or patterns took to go from very small and very little impact to then starting to grow and having a disastrous impact on the team.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a very specific situation. I think it was 10 years ago, let's say. Kind of small team. We were working together for at least a couple of months, and we're coming up to major release and update of the system we've been building. They have been building and maintaining for years. I've been there like half year-ish. And we were kind of focused on delivery and hitting the fixed date, target date, and making this. We had planned for it, and we had thought we did everything good. And we had this evening, when you're doing the upgrade, and everybody joined the office and doing this over the weekend and making sure everything was perfect. We even had checklists, despite my thinking about checklists. But I felt the need for checklists there. And we started the process, and the database upgrade the script should be running for a while, and then the next step. But the script did not end. And it did not end. And time started to pass, and we had on the third party side waiting for us to take over and open firewalls and so on. They had the time schedule for this, and the script didn't end. It just worked on and worked on. And tried to keep cool for a while, but eventually I had to pull the plug. Say, okay, this is failure. We need a break, and stop all the machinery and reschedule this and gather all the people another weekend. And we felt kind of horrible after that because we thought we had covered everything. What went wrong? So how could we fail so horribly as a team? And we had a retrospective kind of discussion, and then we talked, oh, how come this script didn't execute well? And they started looking at it, and of course they realized that the database wasn't indexed and so on. That was the actual problem. But how could we miss this? That was the issue. How do we make sure that this doesn't happen again? And then people started looking at one guy especially. You said that this should work. And he said, he didn't talk very much, ever. And he said, yeah, it should have worked. I tried it with a smaller database and tried it. And then our tester, a fantastic woman, she was also a people's person. She just said, yeah, but I noticed when we talked about this several times that every time we talked about this, you always looked very awkward and you became very quiet. Did you suspect this? Were you worried? Yeah, I was actually. Okay, so why didn't we talk about that? Because we had these discussions, and I realized I had tried to check with everyone, and we had discussions what could go wrong and so, and I got okay from everybody, but still we didn't have this. Something in the group said we couldn't talk about some types of problems, and some people didn't really dare to say what they were afraid of. Still, and this put us in this horrible position that we failed. It was a big failure. It cost a lot of money, but it's a nice what you call it, a sunshine story. In the end, we realized that we need to be super honest with each other. And if we pick up that someone hesitates, we need to talk about that also to build each other's confidence, because it was something that she spotted and she noticed, and the other consequences also that she was not very technical, and she didn't feel that she could raise her voice sometimes when there were concerns because it was technical discussion. But now everybody looked to her. Are we doing right? So we got a check from another person, because she knew us. She'd been there forever, and she could read us, and she also had some experience on. So, like when we said, "Oh, this will take 1 or 2 weeks to do," she said, "It never does." This, you know. So we had a much better dialogue after that, because I realized that what we've been doing is that we were trusting each other's honesty and skills as individuals, but we didn't see when we had this group how everything fitted together, and didn't pick up on each other's signals, and really it wasn't really team of effort. I thought we had, but now we understood what the team effort was, that we really need all of us in the team, even though we're not experts on different things, because we've been there, we know each other, and we can help each other and make this so much better. So happy ending after that failure.
It's a great story, by the way, and it also shows that like for us as Scrum Masters, we need to be attentive to all kinds of information sources. And that story of the tester lady who actually picked up on this particular developer being hesitant or maybe even afraid, that's a very important piece of information, right? Like, and I was just thinking, like, maybe that's one of the things I could add to my one-on-one list of questions, to every now and then ask the developers and the testers, like, have you picked up on something that you're worried about? Or are you worried about something that might be happening and you can't, clearly verbalize it? Because, in the one-on-one, at least there's this possibility of people feeling safer than if they bring up the topic in the whole group. But you also said something, excuse me, that I think is critical, and I don't think I've ever heard it described that way, which is that we are not really a team until we are able to pick up on these subtle signals that everybody in the team is kind of sending all the time, right? So I was thinking, of course, that's the Scrum Master job, but it's not. It really is the team. And the story that you told is a great example and illustration of how important it is to have that, because if the developer had been able to express something, so if he felt safe enough to express that, or if the tester had been able to ask that question before, you would have avoided the failure, right? But because that ability to talk about those things wasn't there before, then of course the failure happened. It's a really important, and I think the first time I hear it here on the podcast, a really important aspect of what it means to be a team.
Yeah. But she had a super skill that I didn't have, so I'm so thankful for that experience.
And that's the beauty of teams, right? Because somebody will have a skill I don't have.
Yes.
Great story. Thank you for sharing, Johannes.
You're welcome.
Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.